The year was 2347. Humanity had been traveling among the stars for only 30 years. They had met other alien races and joined something called the Galactic Council. This was a big group where all the different alien species made decisions together about the galaxy. Captain Daniel Harper stood on the bridge of his ship, the Valiant. He was watching a screen that showed what was happening far away, at a space station called Proxima Station. On the screen he could see Ambassador Victoria Lane. She was speaking to the Galactic Council and she looked worried. Victoria stood in front of hundreds of alien beings. Some looked like giant insects. Others looked like floating crystals or clouds of gas. Some had too many arms and others had no arms at all. They were all very different from humans. Members of the Council, Victoria said clearly, I am here to warn you one more time. Please do not invade the Outer Rim systems. Humanity has been peaceful since we joined you, but we have not shown you everything we can do. If you attack the worlds under our protection, we will have to defend them, and you will not like what happens. The alien creatures started making noise. Some clicked their mouths. Others made electronic sounds. Many of them seemed to be laughing at Victoria. A tall insect creature named Zixthar hit the table with his claw. He was the ambassador for the Kravik species. Stop talking, he said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping metal. You humans have only been in space for a short time. We have ruled the stars for thousands of years. You think you can tell us what to do? This is funny. All around the chamber, other aliens agreed with Zixthar. The Draven Collective nodded their heads. The hegemony of Tarn made sounds of approval. Even the Quillari, who usually stayed neutral, seemed to think humanity was being silly. Back on the Valiant, Commander Lisa Morgan stood next to Captain Harper. She shook her head slowly. They really don't understand, do they? She asked. Harper's face was serious. No. They think our ships are slow because that's what we showed them. They think our weapons are weak because we only used small ones during training exercises. They have no idea what humans can really do. Lisa looked at the captain. When we first met them, we decided to hide our real strength. We wanted to learn about them first. We wanted to see if they were peaceful or dangerous. And now we know, Harper said quietly. They respect only power. They see kindness as weakness. On Earth, deep underground in a secret military base called Site Omega, General Paul Henderson was watching the same transmission. Next to him stood Colonel Amy Roberts. They both wore serious expressions. The Council has made their decision, Amy said, reading from a tablet. They voted to invade the systems we protect. They want the resources there. They think we're too weak to stop them. General Henderson nodded slowly. He had expected this. Then it's time, he said. Send the order. Activate Protocol Warhammer. Amy typed commands into her tablet. All across human space, hidden military bases received the order. Ships that had been waiting in secret locations began to power up. Weapons that had been kept hidden started to come online. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought they knew what humanity was capable of, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. When humans first traveled to the stars, they had been careful. They remembered their own history. On Earth, humans had fought terrible wars. They had built weapons that could destroy entire cities. They had learned that showing all your strength at once was a bad idea. So when they met the alien races, humans had been smart. They built ships that looked simple. They used weapons that seemed basic. They acted like they were new to space and didn't know much. And the aliens believed it. The truth was very different. Human technology was much more advanced than what they had shown. Their ships could go much faster. Their weapons were much more powerful. And they had built many more ships than anyone knew about. For 30 years, humans had been learning. They studied the aliens. They found out how the Council worked. They discovered which species were strong and which were weak. They learned about the politics and the wars and the treaties, and all the time they were preparing, building ships in secret, training soldiers where no one could see, developing weapons that the Council had never imagined. Victoria had tried to warn them. She had stood in front of the Council 3 different times. Each time, she had told them that humanity was stronger than they thought. Each time, she had begged them not to start a war. But the aliens didn't listen. They saw humans as new and young. They thought of Earth as a small, unimportant world. They believed that humanity could be pushed around and controlled. They were wrong. Captain Harper turned away from the screen. The Council meeting was over. The decision had been made. The aliens would send their fleets to attack human-protected worlds. They thought it would be easy. How long until they reach our territory? Harper asked. Lisa checked her instruments. About 3 days. The Kravik are sending 300 warships. They think that will be more than enough. Harper almost smiled, but there was no humor in it. 300 warships. They really think they can beat us with 300 ships? They don't know about the hidden fleet, Lisa said. They don't know about our real weapons. They're going to be very surprised. Down inside Omega, General Henderson was giving orders to his staff. I want every ship ready. I want every weapon system checked. When the Kravik arrive, I want them to understand immediately that they made a mistake. Colonel Amy looked at the general. Sir, are we really going to destroy their entire fleet? That's a lot of aliens who will die. Henderson's face was hard. We gave them chances. Victoria warned them 3 times. We tried to avoid this. But they chose war. And if we don't show them how powerful we really are, they'll just keep coming. We need to make them afraid. We need to make them understand that attacking humanity is a death sentence. Amy nodded. She understood. It was a harsh decision, but maybe it was necessary. Sometimes being peaceful meant showing that you could be very dangerous when needed. Across human space, people prepared for war. Civilians were moved to safe locations. Defense stations were armed. Ships moved into position. Everyone knew what was coming. The Galactic Council thought they were about to teach humanity a lesson. They thought they would show these young humans their place in the galaxy. Instead, they were about to learn the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate humanity, never ignore their warnings, and never ever make them angry. The galaxy was about to change forever, and it would all start in 3 days when the Kravik fleet arrived, confident and proud, ready to crush the weak humans. They had no idea what was waiting for them. 3 days passed quickly. The Kravik armada moved through space like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 massive warships, each one bigger than a small moon. Behind them flew thousands of smaller fighter craft, ready to attack anything in their path. War Master Krixinal sat in the command chair of his flagship. He was the leader of this fleet, and he felt very confident. He had fought in 17 different battles across the galaxy. He had never lost even once. His ship's walls were covered with trophies from defeated enemies. How far to the human systems? Krixinal asked his crew. We will arrive in 1 hour, War Master, a Kravik officer replied. Our scouts report only 37 human ships waiting for us. The entire bridge crew made clicking sounds. This was how Kravik laughed. 37 ships against 300? This would not even be a real fight. Krixinal spread his mandibles, which was like a smile for his species. These humans are fools. They should have run away. Now we will destroy them quickly and take their planets. 1 hour later, the Kravik fleet entered the Perseus sector. Their sensors immediately picked up the human defense fleet. Sure enough, there were only 37 ships. They were lined up in a defensive formation, waiting. Those small ships? Another officer said. This will be over in minutes. But Krixinal felt something strange. A tiny feeling of doubt. The human ships were just sitting there, not moving, not running away. Why would they do that? Did they really think they could win? On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Daniel Harper sat calmly in his chair. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, checking systems and preparing weapons. Everyone was quiet and focused. The Kravik fleet has entered the sector, Commander Lisa Morgan reported. They're moving into attack formation. Harper nodded. Open a channel to all Kravik ships. A moment later, Harper's face appeared on every screen in every Kravik ship. His expression was cold and serious. Kravik fleet, this is Captain Daniel Harper of Earth Defense. You have entered human-protected space with hostile intent. This is your final chance to turn around and leave. We warned your council. We begged them to avoid this conflict, but they chose to ignore us. If you continue, you will face the full strength of humanity. Turn back now or face the consequences. On the Kravik flagship, the bridge crew laughed even harder at Harper's words. War Master Krixinal shook his head. These mammals still think they can frighten us. Fire all weapons. Show them the power of the Kravik Empire. 300 ships opened fire at the same time. Thousands of plasma bolts and energy beams filled the space between the two fleets. The amount of firepower was incredible. It was enough to destroy a small planet, but the human ships were not there anymore. Krixinal stared at his tactical display in confusion. The 37 human ships had been right in front of him. Then they had moved. But they had not moved at normal speed. They had moved impossibly fast. Where did they go? He shouted. They're everywhere! His tactical officer screamed. The human ships were suddenly all around the Kravik fleet. They were moving at speeds that should not be possible. They dodged and weaved between the Kravik ships like dancers. Their movements were so fast and precise that the Kravik weapons could not track them. Then the human ships fired back. The weapons that came from the human vessels were nothing like what the Kravik had seen during joint exercises with the Council. These were completely different. Massive railguns fired metal slugs that moved at nearly the speed of light. Fusion missiles streaked through space and exploded with the power of small stars. Energy beams punched through Kravik shields like they were not even there. On the Valiant, Lieutenant Commander Peter Shaw worked his weapons console with calm efficiency. Target locked. Firing main railgun. Target destroyed. Acquiring next target. Firing. Target destroyed. One by one, Kravik ships exploded. The massive warships that had seemed so powerful just minutes ago were being torn apart. Their shields did nothing. Their armor melted under the human weapons. Their own weapons could not hit the fast-moving human ships. Impossible, Crixnell shouted. Where did they get this technology? How are they so fast? His science officer, wounded and bleeding from console explosions, looked up with terrified eyes. War Master, I have analyzed their movements. These ships are using power systems far beyond anything in the Council database. Their weapons operate on principles we did not know were possible. We have made a terrible mistake. Crixnell looked at his tactical display. In just 20 minutes, half of his fleet was gone. 150 warships destroyed. The rest were damaged and trying desperately to fight back, but it was useless. Retreat, he ordered. All ships, retreat immediately. The surviving Kravik ships turned and tried to run. Their engines pushed to maximum power as they tried to escape. But then something even more frightening happened. Space itself seemed to shimmer and change. Suddenly, there were not 37 human ships. There were more than 100. They appeared from nowhere as if they had been invisible. Stealth ships, the tactical officer screamed. They had stealth ships waiting. The Kravik fleet was now completely surrounded. The new human ships were just as fast and just as deadly as the first group. They positioned themselves to block any escape route. On the Valiant, Harper spoke quietly to his crew. No survivors. We cannot let them report back about our real capabilities. Not yet. Not until we are ready to show the entire galaxy what we can do. Commander Lisa Morgan nodded and gave the order. All ships engage freely. Destroy all targets. The battle, if it could even be called a battle, continued. It was more like an execution. The Kravik ships tried to fight. They tried to run. They tried everything they could think of. But nothing worked. The human ships were simply too fast, too powerful, too advanced. Every Kravik vessel was tracked and destroyed. The fighter craft tried to scatter, but automated human drones hunted them down. Within 1 hour of the battle starting, the entire Kravik armada was nothing but floating debris. On Earth, in Site Omega, General Henderson watched the battle feed with Colonel Amy Roberts standing beside him. What are our casualties? Henderson asked. Amy checked her tablet. 0, sir. Not a single human ship was even damaged. The Kravik never came close to hitting us. Henderson nodded slowly. Good. And the battle site? Our cleanup crews are already working. They're destroying any evidence of our weapon signatures. When the Council sends investigators, all they will find is wreckage and radiation. They won't be able to tell exactly what destroyed the Kravik fleet. The general stood up and walked to a large window that looked out over the underground base. Below him, hundreds of ships were being prepared. These were ships the Council did not know about. Ships that had been built in secret over the last 30 years. The Council will panic, Henderson said. They will wonder what happened. They will be afraid. And that fear will make them do something stupid. Amy understood. You think they will send more ships? I know they will. The Hegemony and the Draven will not accept this defeat. They will gather their forces and come at us with everything they have. And when they do, we will be ready. In space, the last Kravik ship exploded. The battle was over. The Kravik Empire had sent its best fleet, commanded by its best warrior, to crush humanity. And humanity had destroyed them completely without taking a single loss. Captain Harper looked at the debris field through his viewport. He felt no joy in the destruction, only a grim satisfaction that the message would be clear. Set course for Earth, he ordered. We need to prepare for the next attack, because this is just the beginning. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. It was about to learn the truth. 3 weeks had passed since the Kravik armada disappeared. The Galactic Council gathered in their great chamber on Proxima Station. The mood was very different from before. There was no laughter now, no confidence, only fear and confusion. High Arbiter Thulrek stood at the center of the chamber. He was a being made of living crystal who had led the council for more than 200 years. In all that time, he had never seen the council members look so worried. "Commander Val Shen," Thulrek said, his crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. "What did your reconnaissance fleet find?" The Draven commander's hologram flickered in the air. Val Shen was a tall creature with gray skin and too many eyes. He looked tired and frightened. "High Arbiter, we found debris." "Lots of debris." "Metal, plastic, organic matter. It was spread across the entire sector. Our scientists analyzed everything. It was definitely the Kravik fleet. All 300 ships. All destroyed." The chamber filled with worried voices, different species speaking different languages, all asking the same question. "How? What destroyed them?" asked one of the council members. Val Shen shook his head. "We do not know. The energy signatures were strange. Very powerful. Very efficient. Nothing like any weapon system in our databases. Whatever destroyed the Kravik used technology we have never seen before." All eyes in the chamber turned to look at one person. Ambassador Victoria Lane sat in the human seat. She wore a simple dark suit and her face showed no emotion. She just sat there quietly, letting the aliens stare at her. Unlia, the Quillari representative, spoke next. The Quillari looked like floating jellyfish and they spoke directly into people's minds. "Ambassador Lane, perhaps you can explain what your species knows about this." Victoria stood up slowly. She walked to the center of the chamber with calm, measured steps. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. The Kravik invaded space that was under human protection. They did this despite our warnings, despite our request for peace, despite our repeated attempts to avoid conflict. She paused and looked around at all the different aliens. Earth sent investigation teams to the site. "We found the same wreckage your people found. As far as we can tell, the Kravik encountered something dangerous in deep space. Perhaps a rogue artificial intelligence. Perhaps a spatial anomaly. We simply do not know." Zixthar, the Kravik ambassador, jumped to his feet. His voice was shrill with anger and fear. "Lies! You destroyed them! You murdered 300 ships and thousands of my people." Victoria turned to face him directly. Her expression did not change. "We warned you. We told your war master to turn back. We told this council repeatedly that humanity was not as weak as you believed. You did not listen. You attacked us. And now your fleet is gone. You admit it," Zixthar shouted. "I admit nothing," Victoria said coldly. "I simply state facts. You were warned. You ignored the warning. Your fleet is destroyed. Draw whatever conclusions you wish." The chamber erupted in chaos, aliens shouting at each other. Some accused humanity of lying. Others worried about what this meant. A few quietly wondered if perhaps the humans had been telling the truth all along. Through it all, Victoria just stood there calmly. She did not argue. She did not defend humanity. She just let the chaos happen, and her silence was more frightening than any threat could have been. Far away on the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Daniel Harper was reading new orders that had come from Earth. Commander Lisa Morgan and Lieutenant Commander Peter Shaw stood with him, reading over his shoulder. "The hegemony is mobilizing," Harper said. "Intelligence reports say they are gathering their entire fleet. The Draven Collective is doing the same." Lisa pulled up a tactical display. "Sir, that's more than 2,000 capital ships. If they combine their forces, they'll have over 3,000 vessels." Peter whistled softly. "That's almost 10% of all the military power in the entire galaxy." Harper nodded. "Command wants us to send a message. Not just defend, but attack. We're going to hit them first before they can finish organizing." Lisa felt a chill run through her body. "Operation Nightfall?" "Yes," Harper confirmed. "We're going to show the galaxy what happens when they push humanity too far." Operation Nightfall was not just a military plan. It was a demonstration. A way to show every species in the galaxy that humanity was not to be challenged. Ever. On Earth, deep inside Omega, Colonel Amy Roberts was overseeing something incredible. In the main hangar bay, which was actually a massive underground cavern, ships were being moved into position. "Lots of ships. Thousands of ships. How many are ready for deployment?" General Henderson asked as he walked up beside her. Amy looked at her tablet. 5,000 warships are ready for immediate deployment, sir. Another 10,000 automated combat drones are standing by. All ships are using the new stealth systems. The Council will not see them coming. Henderson allowed himself a small smile. 5,000 ships. And the Council thinks we only have a few hundred. They have no idea what we have been building out beyond the Oort cloud. The truth was that humanity had been very busy for 30 years. While they pretended to be weak and new to space travel, they had been building shipyards in remote locations, far from any place the Council would look, far from any trade routes or explored systems. They had been mining asteroids for materials. They had been developing new technologies. They had been training soldiers and pilots, all in secret, all while smiling and nodding at council meetings and pretending to be harmless. Amy looked at the general. Sir, when the Council sees this fleet, they will know we have been lying to them from the beginning. They will know we deceived them. Yes, Henderson agreed, and they will be terrified. Because if we lied about this, what else did we lie about? What other secrets do we have? That fear will keep them in line. Back on Proxima Station, the Council meeting was finally coming to order. High Arbiter Thulrak had managed to quiet the arguing voices. We must make a decision, Thulrak announced. The Hegemony and the Draven are gathering their forces. They intend to strike at human space with overwhelming power. Do we support this action? Do we try to stop it? Or do we wait and see what happens? Many council members began speaking at once. Some wanted to support the attack. They were angry about the Kravik and wanted revenge. Others were afraid. They had seen what happened to 300 Kravik ships. What would happen if the same thing happened to 3,000? In the middle of all this argument, Victoria's communication device vibrated. She glanced at it and read a short message from Earth. Then she stood up again. High Arbiter, if I may speak. The chamber went quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. The Hegemony and Draven are making a mistake, Victoria said simply. Just like the Kravik made a mistake. Just like this council made a mistake when you voted to invade our space. You all seem to think that numbers matter. That having more ships means you will win. She paused and looked around the chamber slowly. You are wrong. Numbers do not matter. Technology matters. Training matters. Determination matters. And humanity has all three. Is that a threat? Demanded the Hegemony's representative. No, Victoria said quietly. It is a fact. You were warned. You are being warned again. If the Hegemony and Draven attack us, they will suffer the same fate as the Kravik. Total destruction. No survivors. No mercy. The chamber was completely silent now. Victoria's words hung in the air like a death sentence. However, she continued, humanity does not want war. We never wanted war. We came to this council seeking peace and cooperation. That offer still stands. But it will not stand forever. Choose wisely. With that, Victoria sat down. She had said everything she needed to say. Now it was up to the council to decide. Would they choose peace? Or would they choose to see what humanity was really capable of? In 2 days, they would have their answer. Because in 2 days, the combined fleet of the Hegemony and Draven would reach human space. And humanity would be waiting. The attack came exactly on schedule. The Hegemony of Tarn and the Draven Collective had chosen the date carefully. It was exactly 1 year since humanity had joined the Galactic Council. They thought this was symbolic. They would remove the humans on the anniversary of their arrival. War Coordinator Dravnik commanded the Hegemony fleet from his massive flagship. He was enormous, even for his species. His horned head nearly touched the ceiling of the bridge. His 4 arms worked multiple control panels at once. Around his flagship, more than 2,000 Hegemony warships floated in perfect formation. Next to them, another 1,000 Draven ships waited. This was the largest military force assembled in 300 years. It was enough firepower to conquer a dozen worlds. Status report, Dravnik demanded in his deep, rumbling voice. His tactical officer, a smaller member of his species, checked the displays. Sir, we are in position at the staging area. The Draven confirm they are ready. Human defenses in the target system show only 63 vessels and minimal defensive stations. Dravnik nodded his massive head. 63 ships. The humans are even more foolish than the Kravik believed. Very well, all ships prepare to jump. We will crush them in one swift attack and claim their resource-rich systems for the Council. But before he could give the order to move, every alarm on his ship started screaming at once. What is happening? Dravnik roared, His tactical officer stared at his screen with wide, terrified eyes. Sir, contacts. Multiple contacts. They're everywhere. Ships are appearing all around us. How many ships? The officer's hand shook as he worked his console. Thousands, sir. I count at least 5,000 vessels. All human, all moving into attack positions. The main view screen changed to show what the sensors were detecting. Human ships were materializing from hyperspace in perfect formation. They surrounded the entire Allied fleet. Sleek, deadly vessels bristling with weapons, and they all looked far more advanced than the simple ships the Council had seen during exercises. Kravik felt his blood run cold. This is impossible. Intelligence said the humans only had a few hundred ships. Where did these come from? Before anyone could answer, every screen in every ship of both fleets switched to show the same image. A human male in a military uniform. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard as steel. "Attention, hegemony and Draven forces," Captain Daniel Harper said. "You were warned. Earth begged you to leave us in peace. You responded with threats and invasion. So now you will see what humanity truly is when we stop holding back." Kravik found his voice. "Fire. All ships fire now." But the human fleet was already moving. The ships accelerated with impossible speed. They were not just fast. They were incredibly fast, far faster than any ship in the Council database could move. They wove between the Allied vessels like they were dancing. Then they opened fire. The weapons that came from the human ships were beyond anything the Council had ever imagined. Quantum disruptors tore ships apart at the molecular level. Gravity lances crushed vessels like paper. Plasma weapons burned hotter than the heart of a star. Each shot destroyed or crippled its target. Commander Margaret Chen led one of the human strike groups from her ship, the Phoenix. She was calm and focused as she coordinated her squadron. Wing 3, target their command carriers. Wing 7, eliminate their communications hub. Remember, no ship leaves this sector alive. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Joseph Miller, worked his console rapidly. "Ma'am, the Draven are trying to retreat." "Denied," Margaret said flatly. "Activate the interdiction field." Across the entire battle space, human ships deployed a technology the Council did not know existed. A field that made hyperspace travel impossible. The Allied fleet was trapped. They could not escape. They could not run. They could only fight and die. On the hegemony flagship, Kravik watched in growing horror as his mighty armada was systematically destroyed. His ships were dying, not slowly but rapidly. The human weapons cut through shields and armor like they were nothing. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "How did they hide this technology? How did we not know?" His science officer looked up from his ruined console. Blood ran down his face from a wound on his forehead. "Sir, I have analyzed their technology. Some of it is centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy. They did not develop this in 30 years. They must have had it before they joined the Council." The truth hit Kravik like a physical blow. Humanity had lied. They had lied about everything. Their weak ships, their limited technology, their small fleet, all of it was deception. They had been predators hiding among prey. Learning, watching, waiting. "Send a message to the Council," Kravik ordered desperately. "Tell them we were wrong. Tell them to surrender. Tell them to do whatever the humans want before they destroy us all." But before the message could be sent, the Phoenix fired its main cannon. The beam of pure energy struck the hegemony flagship directly. The massive vessel, which had survived dozens of battles, simply ceased to exist. It was there one moment and gone the next. Vaporized. The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. Their weapons never missed. Their defenses could not be penetrated. They were like a swarm of predators taking down much larger prey. One by one, the Allied ships were destroyed. The hegemony vessels tried to form defensive formations, but the humans simply went around them. The Draven tried to fight back with everything they had, but their weapons could not even scratch the human shields. On Earth, General Henderson and Colonel Amy watched the battle on multiple screens. Each screen showed a different part of the fight. Each showed the same thing. "Human victory. Casualty report," Henderson requested. Amy checked her tablet and shook her head in amazement. "0 casualties, sir. Not a single human ship has been destroyed. Only 3 vessels report minor damage. The enemy has lost over 90% of their fleet." Henderson leaned back in his chair. 3,000 Allied ships against 5,000 human ships. They probably thought they had a chance because of their experience. They thought they were better warriors. They learned otherwise, Amy said quietly. Yes. And the rest of the galaxy will learn too, because we are letting some of them survive. Amy looked at him in surprise. Sir? Henderson pointed at one of the screens. See there? We are disabling some ships instead of destroying them. We want survivors. We want them to go back to the Council and tell them exactly what happened here. We want every species in the galaxy to know what happens when you attack humanity. In space, the last major group of Allied ships was surrendering. They had no choice. Their weapons were useless. Their shields were down. Their engines were damaged. They were helpless. Commander Margaret Chen received the surrender signal. All units cease fire. Secure the surrendering vessels. Make sure they understand the terms. They will be allowed to leave, but their weapon systems will be permanently disabled. They will return to the Council as messengers. As the battle ended, Captain Harper stood on the bridge of the Valiant looking at the debris field. Thousands of ships destroyed, hundreds of thousands of aliens dead, all because they would not listen to warnings. Was this necessary? Asked Commander Lisa Morgan quietly. Harper turned to look at her. Yes, we tried peace. We tried diplomacy. We tried warnings. They only respect power, so we showed them power. Now they will think twice before attacking any human world. Back on Proxima Station, High Arbiter Thulrak received the message from the surviving ships. His crystalline form seemed to dim as he read the report. 3,000 ships sent to defeat humanity. Less than 200 survived. And those only survived because the humans chose to let them live. Send a message to all council members, Thulrak said quietly. Emergency session. Immediately. We must discuss terms of surrender. For the first time in the Council's history, they were surrendering to a species they had considered weak and primitive. The galaxy had changed forever. 6 months had passed since the Great Battle. The Galactic Council chamber looked the same as always, but everything else had changed. The power structure of the entire galaxy had shifted completely. Ambassador Victoria Lane stood at the central podium. She was no longer requesting permission to speak. She was commanding the attention of every species in the Council. Behind her, holographic displays showed human ships patrolling every major trade route in the galaxy, not as invaders, but as protectors, the new guardians of galactic peace. High Arbiter Thulrak, his crystalline body looking dimmer than before, addressed the chamber. His voice was quiet and humble now, very different from 6 months ago. The Council recognizes Ambassador Lane. Victoria nodded. Thank you, Arbiter. It has been 6 months since certain members of this Council attempted to destroy humanity. Since that time, we have worked to establish a new relationship with all of you. Some have adapted well to the changes. Others continue to resist. She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show several incidents from the past months. The Kravik remnants believed they could raid human colonies for revenge. They attacked a mining station on the edge of our space. We responded by destroying their remaining fleet and occupying their 3 largest military bases. They will not threaten anyone again. The Kravik ambassador, a replacement for Zixthar who had died of shame after the defeat, lowered his head and said nothing. The Teln Confederacy, Victoria continued, decided to close their borders to human merchants. They thought their economy was strong enough to survive without our trade. Within 2 months, their economy collapsed. They have since reopened their borders and apologized. Around the chamber, aliens shifted uncomfortably. The message was clear. Humanity was now the most powerful force in the galaxy. Resisting them was pointless. Captain Daniel Harper, now promoted to Admiral, stood beside Victoria. He wore his dress uniform with its new medals and decorations. The Council needs to understand something, he said. Humanity did not want this position. We came to you seeking partnership. We wanted to learn from you and share what we knew. We wanted peace. Captain Margaret Chen appeared as a hologram. She now commanded the new flagship Enterprise. But you responded with arrogance. You treated us like children. You threatened us. You attacked us. So we defended ourselves. Commander Lisa Morgan, now a captain herself, added her voice. We are not conquerors. We do not want to rule over you. We simply refuse to be victims. We refuse to let any species threaten us or our allies. The Quillari representative, Unlia, spoke carefully through telepathic transmission. What does humanity want from us? What are your demands? Victoria's expression softened slightly. What we have always wanted: peace, fair trade, mutual respect. The difference now is that we are no longer asking politely. We are establishing the terms. She outlined the new framework for the galaxy. It was surprisingly fair, considering humanity's overwhelming power. Human technology would be shared with cooperative species. Human ships would patrol dangerous regions and stop pirates and raiders. Human advisors would help species improve their governments and economies. But there were also clear rules. Any species that threatened humanity or its allies would be dealt with swiftly and harshly. Any attempt to attack human worlds would result in complete destruction. Any effort to build weapons specifically designed to fight humans would be seen as an act of war. On Earth, in the command center of Site Omega, General Henderson and Colonel Amy watched the council session together. "Do you think they will accept the terms?" Amy asked. Paul nodded slowly. "They do not have a choice. We control most of the major hyperspace lanes. Our technology is decades beyond theirs. Our economy is now the largest in the galaxy. And most importantly, they fear us." "Is fear enough?" Amy wondered. "What happens when the fear fades? Will they rebel?" Henderson considered this carefully. Fear alone would breed resentment and eventually rebellion. But we are not just using fear. We are also showing them the benefits of cooperation. Species that work with us are prospering. Their economies are growing. Their people are safer. We are proving that working with humanity is better than working against us. Amy understood. So we use both the stick and the carrot. Exactly. We show them what happens to enemies, but we also show them what happens to friends. Over time, cooperation will become normal. The younger generation of aliens will grow up in a galaxy where human leadership is simply the way things are. Back in the council chamber, Victoria was finishing her presentation. Humanity offers you a choice. Work with us and we will help you prosper. Your people will be safer. Your economies will grow. Your technology will advance. We will share what we have learned and help solve problems that have plagued the galaxy for centuries. She paused and looked around at all the different species. Or resist us, fight us, try to undermine us, and you will discover that what you saw in the battles was only a small demonstration of what we can do. We have more ships, better weapons, technology you cannot imagine. We have been holding back for 30 years. If you force us to reveal everything, you will not like the results. The vote was called. One by one, species raised their appendages or made their signals of agreement. Some voted eagerly, seeing opportunity in the new order. Others voted reluctantly, accepting reality. A few abstained, still clinging to their pride, but they were too afraid to vote against humanity. The measure passed almost unanimously. The galaxy had a new structure. Humanity was now the dominant species. Not through conquest or cruelty, but through superior technology and the willingness to use overwhelming force when necessary. Far from Earth, beyond the edges of known space, human construction continued. New shipyards built more vessels. Research stations developed even more advanced weapons. Training facilities prepared soldiers for threats that had not yet emerged. Admiral Harper stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the stars through the viewport. Commander Lisa appeared on a communication screen beside him. "Thinking about the future?" she asked. He nodded. "We changed the galaxy. But with that change comes responsibility. We have to maintain the peace we fought for. We have to prove that we are worthy of the power we claimed." "Do you think we are?" Lisa asked quietly. Harper turned to look at her image. "I think we are learning. We made mistakes on Earth. Terrible wars, horrible weapons. We almost destroyed ourselves multiple times. But we learned from those mistakes. We learned that peace requires strength, that kindness without power is just weakness. And power without kindness is tyranny," Lisa added. "Exactly. We have to walk the line between the two. Be strong enough that no one dares attack us, but fair enough that no one wants to. Harper smiled slightly. It will not be easy. There will be challenges. Species that test our resolve. Situations that require difficult choices. Back in the council chamber, the session was ending. Victoria gathered her materials and prepared to leave. High Arbiter Thulrak approached her. Ambassador Lane, he said quietly. I must ask, did humanity plan this from the beginning? When you first joined the council, was this always your intention? Victoria looked at the ancient crystalline being. No, Arbiter. We came seeking peace. We came hoping to find friends among the stars. We hid our strength not to deceive you, but to protect ourselves while we learned if you could be trusted. She paused. You proved that you could not be trusted. You saw weakness and decided to exploit it, so we showed you our strength. And now you rule us, Thulrak said sadly. No, Victoria corrected. Now we protect you. From pirates, from raiders, from your own worst impulses, whether you see it. As rule or guardianship depends on whether you choose to be our partners or our subjects. As Victoria left the chamber, she sent a message back to Earth. The terms had been accepted. The new order was established. Humanity had achieved what no other species had managed. They had united the galaxy under a single vision of peace. But it was a peace backed by the certainty that anyone who threatened it would face the full might of humanity. A humanity that was no longer holding back. A humanity that had warned the galaxy and been ignored. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate humanity. Never ignore their warnings. And never make them reveal their true power. Because when humanity stopped holding back, nothing in the galaxy could stand against them. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.